All right, Mikhail Kasyanov is the former prime minister of Russia. He served under President Putin and since then has been in opposition in Russia and now out of Russia. Mikhail, I know you left Russia several months ago. I would bet that there are thousands of people now that are wishing they had left a long time ago when you did as well, given the announcement by President Putin today.
Yes, I think it's absolutely the case. In fact, when I left Russia and some other people, I would say many other people left Russia on the first month because just we were all critics of Mr. Putin, and some of us just, I would say, very noticeable critics of Mr. Putin. And just since that time, many people already put in jail and a sentence for 7 years in jail. Right now, as a result of today's Mr. Putin announcement of mobilization, he called it partial mobilization, but I read it as a general mobilization, because just all people, all men who entitled to serve in the army could be mobilized immediately. And there is just another part of law already in force, which prevent men from 18 to 60 years old to leave Russia. That's already cases just confirmed by some examples already. People just put in Telegram and their channels, that's already the case. And of course, right now, even those people who were, I would say, get a loyal attitude to Mr. Putin or just neutral, right now they coming to anger. And I think that is in general terms, I would say Mr. Putin made a critical I would say decision, which I could say it as a beginning of Mr. Putin's end, because just right now those people who before just behave neutrally, they right now would of course have a absolutely negative attitude to Mr. Putin, and they'll try to escape of being sent to the war. And we shall see how the whole situation will develop.
It's one thing to support a war sitting on the sofa of your house, but it's quite another one when you may be called to the military, or your sons or your daughters may be called to go and fight in a war you probably don't even understand.
Exactly. Then I would like to emphasize that before there was just people who were on a battlefield, just those people, officers just serving as officers, and those people, a regular army, contractual army, who wanted to serve. That was soldiers and sergeants. But right now there is mobilization. It means just all those poor families and lower sector of middle class. Right now, just those people who supported Putin, right now, they put in a position, they are obliged to support Mr. Putin. And officers, senior officers and junior officers right now just called for mobilization. And that is already middle class in the big cities. It means just a considerable part of population who before kept a neutral position right now would reconsider their attitude to the war and reconsider their attitude to Mr. Putin himself.
If a professional army couldn't win in Ukraine, what is mobilization going to do?
I'm not an expert in I would say tactical things in the battlefield and military operations, but it's clear that there is a lack of human resource on the battlefield, and Mr. Putin needs to have just some kind of advantage in this field, and that is the only measure he left in his store. Just mobilization, because he has nothing to do, nothing else. How to better just offensive operation of Ukrainian army. He has nothing to counter, and that is the only thing. Just that is manpower. People
that becomes quantitative, not qualitative.
Exactly, that's exactly the case. But Putin has nothing more than that.
Right after Putin spoke, the defense minister Shoigu spoke, and he said, we're killing, and that the time has come. We are at war, he said, with the collective West. This is no doubt a war now.
Yeah, that's absolutely the war. It was the war in the very beginning, and right now, just they themselves, Putin and his inner circle, have to reconsider their attitude to that. And now, just they even have some kind of rallies inside just to be closer, and because they understand the responsibility they just taken, and they're all in one boat. And in fact, there is no way for them to get out. And in fact, the only thing interesting what Shoigu said today, just they intend to mobilize 300,000 people. That is exactly to get the decisive advantage on the manpower on the battlefield. Not more than that. They're already lacking on the equipment. They're already getting equipment from North Korea and Iran, because just they already just have nothing in the store, and production just not so fast, because just the operation, the war goes very, very fast and very intensive manner. That was, they're facing problems and they have nothing to counter.
So right after the announcement, Vesna, which is one of the opposition political parties, announced calling for protests across Russia, calling people to come out into the street and not be caught up in this meat grinder of a war that was started by President Putin. Do you think there is a chance that Russians will stand up and refuse to support this war?
As I said before many times, I'm sure the Russians will stand up, but the issue is when. The question is when, not now. I think, as I predicted before, just by December, the situation will change dramatically. And that's what Mr. Putin made a decision today. That's one of these measures which would mature the whole situation to be changed. And by December, just right now, just mobilization will start. And of course, that will be some kind with the corrupt system of mobilization. Some people will be mobilized, some not. The corruption will grow up immediately on a level of senior officers and sectors of this military system throughout Russia. I would say mobilization centers, and in fact, just people, of course, would be angry, growing this. In this case, just the whole situation will mature by December, January, both on the battlefield and internally, because of this factor of mobilization and people's anger.
Some people say that if President Putin wasn't there, we could get somebody worse. Can you give me some idea on how you measure what's taking place in the Kremlin? Is President Putin a moderating factor in any way compared to some of the ultra-nationalists that may be around him, like, Patrushev and some of these other characters? Or do you think he is leading the charge, and that he is absolutely, ultimately responsible for igniting this war?
Yeah, of course, he's personally ultimately responsible, but few people in his inner circle too, because just they all just in the permanent consultations. It's not a huge set of people, but few of them, of course, just they're discussing this every day, and discussing just how to operate further on, and that's why the whole leadership is responsible for this. I mean, those who involved in decision-making process on the military side.
How serious do you take Putin's threat of nuclear war? That he says the West is the one that was threatening Russia. I don't know of anybody that's used a nuclear threat against Russia, anybody credible. Maybe if you do, tell me. But how serious do you take his pledge to use nuclear weapons? And do you think that he would then consider Mother Russia to include these territories that are about to vote to join Russia in these votes that will take place over the next week?
First of all, I haven't heard any statements from Western leaders just in terms of potential application of nuclear weapons. That's absolutely a lie from Mr. Putin's side. But till May, as far as I remember, Putin and some other people just trying to blackmail just by possible application of nuclear weapons. But since May, there was absolutely silence on that. Now, Mr. Putin decided to play just the final card on this game, and again trying to blackmail the West. But what I already seen yesterday's reaction of Western leaders, people already realized that it's bluffing, and it's not possible, because Mr. Putin knows as soon as he press the button, he will immediately be eliminated, himself and his inner circle. And that's one of the simple and important reason Mr. Putin keeps in mind. But right now, he trying to raise the stakes. And in fact, the referendums of those occupied territories, that is the issue he wanted to demonstrate to the West. I'll get them in, and they become the Russian territory, and I have just a legal, inside Russia, a legal right to apply to use nuclear weapons. The question is whether he would use this. I think not. This is bluffing. The last card Mr. Putin has. After that will be absolute collapse of the regime. If the West will continue the intensive supply of necessary equipment, I would say just the military potential of Ukrainian army would grow up and will be equal. And right now, just we already see these problems the Putin's army already facing with. That's, I think, just we very soon will see the complete change, dramatic change of the situation.
Mikhail, last question. Can you imagine that the Ukrainians may be in a position soon, as they advance on the battlefield, to start striking Crimea itself, which was annexed in 2014? And can you imagine the Kremlin's response to that?
Yet, for Mr. Putin, that's the most sensitive. Of course, Ukrainians will try to liberate the whole territory, all sovereign territory of independent state. They fight for their territorial integrity, and they promise to all people. And I think just according to the sociological polls, just 95% of Ukrainians support such a strategy of the leadership of Ukraine. That's why just it's inevitably that they will start dealing with the Crimea soon. But for Mr. Putin, that's the most sensitive point. And that's one of the reasons he started the war. That's what I'm saying. Just we coming to a very dramatic period of time. That's why the Western position right now is crucially important, just to have make intense support of Ukraine, both on military and the financial side, so that they could provide necessary support for their army.
You're saying the West shouldn't blink, shouldn't back away?
Absolutely not. Should stay strong.
Mikhail Kasyanov, the former Prime Minister of Russia. Always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.